All right, let's just dive right into one of the most mind-bending ideas you'll ever come across. It's this claim that you, the person doing the observing, and the world you're observing are, well, fundamentally the same thing. It's a concept that completely flips our everyday intuition on its head. But you know what's wild? It pops up everywhere, from ancient philosophy all the way to the cutting edge of modern physics.
So let me just ask you this, straight up. As you're sitting there looking around, it feels pretty obvious, doesn't it? There's a me in here, and there's a world out there. But what if that feeling, that deep-seated sense of separation, is actually a massive illusion?
I mean, this is basically our default operating system, right? On one side of the line, you've got the observer. That's me, the subject, the knower, the inner world. And on the other side, you have the observed. That's the world, the object, all the known stuff that's outside. Our language, our culture, pretty much all of Western thought is built on this nice, neat, clean dividing line. But today, we're going to see what happens when we start to erase it. And look, before we even get into the really weird stuff like quantum physics, this common sense division starts to get a little shaky with just a simple example. Think about this. A botanist, an artist, and a lumberjack all look at the exact same tree. But do they actually see the same tree? No way. The botanist sees a complex biological system. The artist sees shapes and light and color. The lumberjack sees a certain amount of potential lumber. The observed tree isn't some single fixed thing out there. Its reality is actively shaped by the consciousness that's doing the observing.
Okay, so now let's go where this neat and tidy division just completely shatters, the quantum world. And this isn't just a philosophical thought experiment anymore. Oh no. This is where physics gets so incredibly strange that it shows us pretty definitively that the line between the observer and the observed simply doesn't exist at the most fundamental level of reality.
So you've probably heard of the famous double-slit experiment. The absolutely crucial, mind-blowing point is this. When we're not watching, light acts like a wave. It creates this interference pattern that suggests it somehow went through both slits at the same time. But, and this is the kicker, the moment we try to watch which slit it goes through, the very act of our observation forces it to pick a side, to behave like a particle, and then we just get two simple bands. The physical reality of what's happening literally changes depending on whether or not we're looking. This leads to this really radical idea called the participatory universe. It's the concept that we aren't just passive spectators watching a pre-existing reality unfold on some cosmic screen. See, this is what's so wild for physicists, because it just shatters that old idea of an objective world that exists totally independent of us. Instead, it seems the act of observation is a creative act. It's actively involved in bringing the observed world into being. We're not just watching the movie, folks, we are in the movie.
The physicist John Wheeler took this idea to its most mind-bending conclusion. He's not just saying our participation is local, right here and now. Through some wild thought experiments, he argued that the choices we make in our observations today can influence the physical reality of events that happened billions of years ago. The observer isn't just part of the system, they're tangled up in its entire history. It's a lot to wrap your head around.
Now, what's so fascinating to me is that long before quantum mechanics ever came along, philosophers and mystics, well, they arrived at the exact same conclusion. This idea of unity, of oneness, it isn't new at all. It is echoed through the ages, across cultures. So while a lot of Western philosophy has been dominated by this idea of dualism, a separate mind observing a separate world, many Eastern traditions have been centered on non-duality for thousands of years. They basically start from the position that the subject and the object aren't two fundamentally different things at all. They're more like two poles of a single, undivided reality.
A core teaching from the ancient Hindu text, the Upanishads, puts it so beautifully and simply. Tat tvam asi. It means that thou art. Or you could say, you are that. The message is that your individual consciousness, that little observer you feel yourself to be, it's identical to the ultimate cosmic reality you're observing. There is no separation. It's all one thing.
And what's really surprising is that you can find a parallel to this right in the heart of Western thought. The philosopher Immanuel Kant argued that we can never truly know reality as it is, what he called the thing in itself. We only ever experience reality as it's filtered and structured by our own minds. In other words, our minds aren't just passive windows looking out at the world. They're active frameworks that shape everything we perceive.
So we've seen this idea pop up in physics and in philosophy. But can you find it in your own direct experience? Let's try a quick little experiment, right here, right now, just in your own mind.
Seriously, give it a shot. Just for a second, look for the I that's doing the looking. Try to find the entity that is listening to my voice and seeing these words. Where is it exactly? So what did you actually find? You probably found more things being observed, right? You might have found a thought like, okay, I'm looking for the observer, but that's just a thought that you observed. Or maybe you found a feeling, a physical sensation of pressure behind your eyes, but that too is just another sensation you observed.
And that is the core insight right there. Every single time you go looking for some solid, separate observer, it just dissolves. The thinker you're looking for is just another thought. The feeler is just another feeling. The observer, well, it turns out to be just one more part of the endless stream of things being observed.
Okay, so why does any of this matter? It might seem like a really abstract philosophical idea, but shifting your perspective from a sense of separation to a sense of unity has some profound real-world consequences.
I mean, think about it. Ecologically, if you really feel that nature isn't some resource out there for you to use, but is literally a part of yourself, you're naturally going to treat it with reverence. A threat to the ecosystem becomes a threat to your own body. Socially, it's a lot harder to demonize other people when you recognize that you're all just different expressions of the same field of being. Conflict stops being us versus them and starts looking more like a dysfunction within a single us. And psychologically, that nagging inner critic, that little judge in your head, it loses all its power when you realize it isn't the real you giving orders. It's just another thought you're observing.
So ultimately, it all just boils down to this. One. Not two, not you and the world, but one. One single, undivided field of awareness in which the entire drama of you, the observer, and the world, the observed, is constantly unfolding.
So the thing to remember is that your observation is never passive. The way you look at the world, the questions you ask it, the attention you bring to it, it literally helps shape the very reality that appears before you. You aren't just a spectator, you're a co-creator. And that really leaves us with one final powerful question. What kind of world are you choosing to bring into being?